Coming up on Media McKnight, why that takedown of Donald Trump on South Park reveals the truth about the axing of Stephen Colbert. The Australian takes a brutal swipe at radio station 4BC. We'll separate fact from fiction. How a TV reporter turned himself into the story and scored a plum gig. And I'll reveal the best and worst TV presenters in Australia. And I'm sure this won't get me into any trouble at all. I'm TV and radio presenter Rob McKnight. With over 30 years in the media, this is Media McKnight. Well, much has been written about regarding that season launch of South Park, which belittled Donald Trump. One thing the episode does show is that Paramount Global seems to be making financial decisions and not political ones. Well, to an extent. When it was announced the Late Show with Stephen Colbert would finish up in May 2026, many jumped to the conclusion it was because of his political attacks on Trump. CBS denied this, saying it was a financial decision, claiming the show was losing $40 million US per year. Now, many critics didn't believe the company, but with the airing of this South Park episode, surely that proves money talks in the halls of Paramount Global. The company has just signed a new $1.5 billion streaming deal with co-creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone. Now, Colbert has never eviscerated the president the way South Park did. They literally mocked the size of his penis. With Skydance Media expected to officially take over Paramount Global on August 7, we will slowly get to see the direction the new owner plans to take the company in. What this means for Network 10 is anyone's guess, but sources tell me every budget line has been double-checked in an effort to find savings. Is it being ready for a sale, or will Skydance see value in having an Australian operation? Really, only time will tell. The Media Diary in Monday's Australian did a brutal takedown of Brisbane radio station 4BC, saying the BC stands for Basket Case. Journalist Steve Jackson pulled no punches in his reporting of the troubles the station is facing after a string of format and presenter changes. Now, before I go any further, I have to declare I am a former employee of 4BC and I'm also friends with Jacko. I mention both because I will take issue with some of the reporting around Sophie Formica. I was Sophie Formica's executive producer and occasional fill-in during my time at the station, and I admire her very much. The article claims Formica is the highest paid person at the station, but rates the lowest. Now, it's worth mentioning her cume, the number of people listening, hasn't really changed, but the share has gone down off the back of a lacklustre performance by the station as a whole. The simple fact is afternoons depends on the station. If the station does well, afternoons holds that audience. You can't really blame afternoons for the way the station is performing. But there's no doubt the station is rebuilding and it's in a rebuilding phase, and there have been green shoots that have offered hope. My take, for what it's worth, is that the station should have gone down the 3AW path in breakfast, something like the hugely successful Russ and Ross show, rather than the 2GB format with Ben Fordham. This is nothing against Fordham, but it's my belief Brisbane wants a mix of news and entertainment. The talk format can work in Brisbane, and I really hope Nine Radio doesn't give up doing local shows for the market, even if that means making more changes. Imagine you're the Premier of a state and there's one reporter who's known for breaking stories against the government of the day. What do? Well, hire him, of course. Newsbreaker Tim Avia finished up at 9 News Queensland on Friday to take on a role in Queensland Premier David Crisafulli's government to head up its crisis communications network. It was an opportune moment for Crisafulli, who approached the award-winning journalist after he missed out on the co-hosting role at 9 News, after the departure of Andrew Lofthouse. Joel Dry will be assuming that role in August, although Melissa Downs has proven to be a ratings winner as a solo reader, so why she needs a man sitting next to her is anyone's guess. Media chatter around town centres on the killer question Avia asked Crisafulli during a leaders' debate on Channel 9 during the Queensland election. It's a question that might very well need crisis management in the future and could require Avia's skills at spinning the narrative. Here's an edited version of the back and forth.
Crime will be lower under the LNP and there'll be fewer victims year on year if you're elected. If you fail to do that, will you resign as Premier?
You bet. If there aren't fewer victims, you won't be seeing me.
Well, the spin has already begun because today the Queensland government finally revealed the crime figures, claiming a 5.7% drop in victim rates. And while that number looks good as a headline, the Courier Mail says the significant crime category of other theft was excluded from the calculations. Mr. Crisafulli said the large cohort had been left out. Well, it looks like Avia has his work cut out for him. Well, while 10 News Plus has taken up all the headlines about 10's new early evening programming lineup, it's worth noting the success of Deal or No Deal. Last night, the show rated 386,000, coming off a lead-in of 158,000 from the struggling 6 p.m. offering. With sources claiming the show cost 1/20th of the project, 1/20th, and is rating better on average, you'd have to congratulate 10 on offering an alternative at 7 p.m, an alternative that's working. With the Logies fast approaching, I thought I would share my views on the best and worst TV presenters on Australian television. Now, this is not a scientific study, but it is based on my 30 plus years in the industry of seeing what does and doesn't work, who does and doesn't work, plus my personal tastes as a viewer. Please note this list focuses on national presenters only and does not include state-based news services. So, with all that put out of the way, let's get into it, because I'm sure I'm not going to get in trouble for this. Australia is well served when it comes to talent. Hosts of Australian TV shows have fewer resources compared to productions in the US and UK, but hold their own when it comes to their craft. So, the first up in this category of Best TV Presenter, Robert Irwin. When I first broke the story that Robert Irwin would be the new host of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here on Channel 10, I almost doubted my own reporting. While Irwin was untested in a format like this, to be honest, it seemed unlikely 10 would be able to afford him. But it turned out my reporting was indeed correct, and Irwin has been a revelation. He has brought his own unique style to the role and found chemistry with Julia Morris. And let's be honest, Morris should be congratulated on helping make that work. Next, Joe Griggs, a perennial favourite of mine. The Channel 7 host is warm, likeable, and she doesn't take herself too seriously. While I don't think the network has always treated her with the respect she deserves, there's no doubt Griggs is a favourite with viewers and hopefully will remain on our TV screens for many years to come. Sonia Kruger, probably one of the most polarising presenters on TV, but that's actually a good thing. Kruger has the ability to find humour in any situation and has a dangerous element to her where you never know what'll happen next. Ricardo Gonçalves, the finance guy on SBS, has a great skill set that means he can present just about anything. He even did Eurovision. I'm still dumbfounded as to why this guy hasn't been picked up by a commercial broadcaster, but their loss is SBS's gain. Scott Cam, presenting a TV show and engaging an audience is more than just learning a script. Cam loves the block, and it shows. And in fact, earlier this week on McKnight Tonight, I asked him about that. You love this show, don't you? You're very protective of it.
I am. And, if we probably had a little bit of a hiccup last year, and which, I addressed those issues, and we've gone back to grassroots. And you're right, I love this show, and it's part of my life. I've been doing it for so long. And, I used to do a lot of other shows back in the day, but this has really become my everything for me. And I love getting back to the team that we have. We've been together for many years, the camera crew, production crew, and we meet for 3 months every year. And it's just one of those great things in television that you don't get that often.
Every year he brings the same level of enthusiasm to his presenting, and he's honest about the good and bad elements of the format and contestants. Michael Usher, Mush as he's known in the industry, has become the face of breaking news in Australia. Whenever news breaks, he somehow manages to be front and centre of Seven's coverage. He races into the studio, seemingly transitioning from one angle to another and managing to fill hours of a developing story with no script. Mush has shown he is second to none when it comes to live presentation of breaking news. Carl Stefanovic, another presenter who polarises the audience, but no one seems to get the audience like Carl does. There's no doubt he should be given the chance to host a Tonight Show, but there's no way Nine would ever want him to leave the Today Show. It's just too risky. Carl brings a warmth and humour to the show, which goes missing when he's away. But he also adds the credibility to deliver serious news and breaking news. Now to the worst TV presenters. Look, it's always easy to mention the positives, and it's a much bigger list. And it's much harder to give an honest critique of those who fall into the negative categories. But I'm going to do it anyway, and I stand by my decisions. Dr. Chris Brown is at the top of my list. Now, the inclusion of Brown on the worst list might surprise some, especially considering Seven reportedly signed him on for $1 million per year on a 2-year contract. While Brown is genuinely a nice guy, he's not the crowd puller everyone thinks he is. Let's be honest, it's a big signing that hasn't worked. Dream Home, another story broken by TV Black Box, failed to draw an audience and won't be back. Brown's new show, My Reno Rules, is focused around billionaire Adrian Portelli, with Brown's presenting gig relegated to being a footnote. With TV networks facing serious budgeting issues, will Seven cut Brown loose at the end of his contract? He could then become a freelancer on any jobs if and when required. Next up, Samuel Yang, the ABC News 24 finance presenter, makes for very painful viewing every time he delivers a report. If he's not stumbling through his script, he's getting angry if the network needs to cut away from him for breaking news. Calm down, it's all right. Now to the best TV chemistry category. An important part of being a presenter is being able to work with others and make it seem like you're old friends, even when you've just met. We've seen all too often what happens when presenters don't get along. It creates an uneasy viewing experience. But when two presenters find that chemistry or have that chemistry, the viewer has an enjoyable experience they keep coming back for. And there is no better team on television than Larry Emder and Kylie Gillies, the hosts of Channel 7's The Morning Show. End of story. Larry and Kylie started off strong from day one, and their on-air chemistry has only grown stronger over time. Each has the ability to play off the other's strengths and help out when needed. They don't throw each other under the bus and know the success of the other person helps their own success. Melanie Bracewell and Tim McDonald are up next. Unlike Larry and Kylie, these two will throw each other under the bus, but that's what makes this team so much fun to watch. The Cheap Seats has become one of Channel 10's best shows, and there's no doubt a big reason for that success is the dynamic chemistry between Mel and Tim. Now to the worst TV chemistry. It is so hard to find chemistry. You can't just throw two people together and hope it works, although it happens time and time again. We saw that happen when Deb Knight and Georgie Gardner co-hosted the Today Show together. Individually, both are brilliant presenters, but together they did not gel, and it was a combination that did not work. I'm sorry, but you can't go past Amelia Brace and Denham Hitchcock on 10 News when it comes to bad chemistry. In the current crop of TV presenters, these two are struggling. I like both of them personally, but there is no denying they were not given time to find their groove before the show was rushed to air and we got what has become 10 News Plus. The good thing here is that both are working hard to make it work, but while things seem to be getting better, it could be a case of the damage already being done. All right, so do you agree with this list? Let me know in the comments section, because that brings us to the end of this edition of Media McKnight. You can watch the stream when it goes live at 9 p.m. every Tuesday at youtube.com/@McKnight Tonight. Paid members of the YouTube page get early access to these episodes. It's also where I stream my home internet show, McKnight Tonight. It's a different take on the news of the day. I'm Rob McKnight. I hope to see you there soon on whatever show you're watching. Thanks for being here. Cheers.